Hello, we're back again for more podcasts. This is the first one of Lockdown 2, Electric Boogaloo. We're now stuck inside once again. Nothing really else happens other than eating, watching TV and sleeping and work, and that's pretty much it. So we're now going to do more questions about wrestling and, yeah.
Do you remember when we said, probably going to be a few of these?
Yeah.
We're in double figures. Definitely
I know, we really are. We're pushing close to 20 now. I think this is like number 17 or something.
I might have to look back at our record and see if we've done more Lockdown podcasts than the actual Angle Slam podcast.
We probably have.
We're probably approaching it,
yeah.
at least.
We're getting there.
We're not, for listeners, this isn't making you feel any better. You won't know. But, yeah. So do you want to do your like, subscribe stuff?
Yeah, just the usual guys. Like, subscribe. Find us on SoundCloud, Stitcher, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Apple Music. I am actually looking into trying to eventually branch out and do a couple more podcast places if it will connect up. So if it does, we'll let you know. Yeah, so... That's share and share. Josh is big in sharing. He doesn't share like beer or food or wages or anything like that, or even like the light in his house unless it's a candle. But he wants to share this.
I sometimes share food and drink and light. Why would I share my fucking wages? Why would I do that?
But I mean sharing wages as in, oh, don't worry, lads, I'll get this round.
Oh, I do that every now and then. I'm not getting into this. This will be a completely different podcast. So I don't think there's any depth. So I think we dive straight in with your first question.
Yes, so my first question is, out of all the superstars that are being painfully underused in the WWE at the moment, which one do you think deserves the top spot for a proper push?
There's one name that springs to mind, but I'm trying to think of like others on the list because unfortunately it's a long list.
It's a very long list.
Okay, two have sprung to mind. Ricochet.
Yeah, that's the one I was thinking.
Because what pops to mind with Ricochet is the last time he was proper relevant to me was his match against Lesnar in Saudi Arabia, which he had that amazing video package of Why Not Me, I'm good, and just got destroyed within like less than 2 minutes. It was like, well, that's why, it's destroyed your character. Ricochet, because he's just such a good wrestler, and he deserved better than that. The other is Bobby Roode.
Oh, Bobby Roode, yeah.
He absolutely proved themselves and nailed it at NXT.
Yeah.
Of this is the blueprint of what a main eventer should be.
Yeah.
He had 9 takeovers, was fantastic champion, fantastic promos, good wrestling, and then he gets called to the main roster and he's just treated like an afterthought from TNA.
Even when he came back recently and took on Drew for the championship, that real quick thing on Raw. When he came back, I thought, oh, are they kind of giving him a little bit of a boost here and putting him a little bit higher on the pedestal? And no, within the following week, he was back into tag team with Dolph, and I haven't seen him on TV in a few weeks.
Yeah, this is what we'll talk about in, I don't know if it was the last Lockdown pay-per-view, but it was a recent one, about Bo Dallas. Again, haven't seen him on TV in ages. He's not the greatest wrestler in the world, but he's a good wrestler. And again, in NXT, to be honest, I know Seth Rollins was the first NXT champ, and then I think Big E took it off him, and blah, blah, blah. And I think Bo was the third one. But to me, Bo was the first person that actually really made NXT mean something, because he made the NXT champion mean something, because he was such that hateable heel. That this smiley, like, I am Bo, believe me, like, can someone just smack him in the mouth and shut him up? And he had this really long reign to when he eventually dropped it. Fair enough, not taking anything away from the next champ that beat him, but it was more about him losing it than the other person won. So again, he's got that talent and skill to be maybe not as high as Bobby or Ricochet on my list, but he's got the potential to be a main eventer.
Yeah.
And when when they did that whole vignette thing of the last takeover, which, the return, which then turned out to be Ember Moon, loads of people were saying, "What if it's Bo?
Yeah.
This would be a good shot in the arm for his career." Which, and no one was disappointed that it was Ember, but it was a slight little bit like, wish it was Bo kind of thing.
Mm.
But
with me, I agree with you. I think Ricochet was the one that I thought, especially after the recent Raw when he went against Mustafa Ali, that was one of the best matches on that Raw because they just both showed how good they really were. And after that, even the spinning kind of corkscrew flip off the top rope to the rest of Retribution, I was like, why? As soon as I saw that, I was like, why is this dude not being given more to do? It's just ridiculous. Yeah. This guy's got everything. Like, yes, fair enough. His promo work's not amazing, but given time, I think he could do that. But the wrestling just speaks for itself, and it's just such a shame that he's been relegated to where he is.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm not going to just lay this at Vince's feet, but just the executives of WWE. Obviously, they know wrestling is a huge part of the WWE, but they obviously look at the total package, and they seem to look at their work on the mic and character development more than wrestling nowadays.
Yeah, it's like the wrestling's an afterthought.
Yeah, so there's don't get me wrong, it's important, it's integral. We've spoken about this before, of like, if your character don't get over, no one's going to care about it. But there's the likes of like Ricochet and Cesaro that the fans have been praising them for years. And like you said, their wrestling speaks for itself. We love them because of how good they are. But the executives just go, look, if they can't connect with you through a microphone or through a character, then we're not going to put all our chips behind them. Which I understand, but it's a bit unfair. It's very unfair. I watched a bit of that Ricochet Ali match, and I saw everything you said. Thought, God, yes, Ricochet's awesome. Then obviously Ali got the victory, and I really didn't know how to react because Ali and Retribution needed the victory, but again, it was like, but at Ricochet's expense.
Yeah, but also it's like the same things. Like, I haven't given a shit about Ali and Retribution because of how poorly they've been booked and how not a threat they are in any way. That even when it happened, I thought to myself, "Oh, well, that's good because maybe it's going to give them something." But at the same time, I'm like, I still don't care.
Yeah,
because you haven't made me care.
It was like, they need it. I understand it. It's good that they got the victory, but God, Ricochet still deserves better than this. So,
definitely,
it was a mixed bag. So that's my picks or pick or whatever. Is it me?
It is you.
It is me. Right, obviously, Halloween's just been, and NXT did Halloween Havoc. Over our side of the pond, it's all bonfire night. Remembrance Day today, obviously.
Yeah, well, it's today we're recording it. I mean, I don't know when this is going live, but
yeah,
we're recording it on Remembrance Day for anyone that cares.
It's as live as you're going to get, us telling you the date. And obviously Survivor Series is coming up, which they used to call it like the Thanksgiving tradition, but yeah, that's kind of dwindled away the last few years. However, my point is, usually when like holidays like this come up, WWE have to do something with it. Hence the trick or street fight. Yeah,
that's shit.
Which make me just sick.
Cringe. It's cringeworthy, isn't it?
So, yeah, but my question is, maybe despite the shitty matches they give out every now and then, should any wrestling industry, what's the word I'm looking for? Acknowledge the holiday that's around at the time of their show and do a theme with it, or should they ignore it completely because it might mess up their storytelling?
In all honesty, I think it's the latter. I think it doesn't need to be there. It's nothing more than a gimmick match because it's like plugging a film or a TV show that they also do. Whenever a popular film comes out, it's like, they have to get it into a promo somewhere or mention it on some kind of talk show because for some stupid reason, like they got shares in it, which they haven't. It's the same thing. Yeah, it's just I don't need to see it. I understand the comical kind of thing, and it's for the kids more than anything. But that everyone's aware that it's Christmas. Everyone's aware it's Thanksgiving. Everyone's aware it's Easter or whatever. You know what I mean? It's just that we're aware of it. You don't have to ram it down our throat and force it upon us. And yeah, I think stories suffer because of it, especially if there's one that's quite gritty and it's doing quite well as a story. Then suddenly they're just doing some kind of trick-or-treat street fight, and it just completely ruins the entire point of the feud. And it just, I just don't think it's needed. It's too much of a gimmick. It's the gimmick for a gimmick's sake. And it's just, you know what I mean? That just ruins it. There's no point to it. Even when they chuck it into a story, there's still no point to it. So, I think they're redundant. They don't need to be shown. They've even stripped it back when they do the UK tour now. They used to do the taxis and the phone box and the big UK flags. And now they don't really do that. I think there's a UK flag maybe, but that's about it. They don't need to do it. They don't need to tell us that they're in the UK other than to sell the tickets. When you're there, it's not... You know, we're not sitting in the arena at SmackDown going, oh, we're in the UK. I didn't know that. I didn't know I was living in the UK. You know, it's the same thing as like, oh, it's Christmas. I didn't know Christmas was coming. You know what I mean? So they're redundant. It doesn't need to happen.
The British thing, it always rubbed me the wrong way because it felt like I knew what they were trying to do. Of like,
it's cliche.
Well, it was just like, here, it's a special show because we're in the UK. And, you know, in a way, appreciate that they see it as special. But the taxi cabs and the phone box and all that, it was like, number one, most of that kind of stuff is gone from the UK now. And it's just, it's blowing smoke up our ass needlessly.
Yeah.
To the point, I just thought, why can't you go, here we are live in the UK, but it's business as usual. It's an episode of Raw. And that would make the UK feel more... in the circle,
inclusive, inclusive.
Than just like, instead of going, oh, but you're on the outside of the circle. It's like, we don't want to be on the outside of the circle. We want to be in this circle. So going back to like the holiday themes and stuff, the matches, knock them on the head. Because the thing is, if they said as a Halloween special, there's going to be a street fight tonight, by all means, maybe call it a trick or street fight, but don't theme the match itself.
Don't have pumpkins.
Or fucking scarecrows or people coming out in ghost masks and stuff. Just go. It's Halloween. You know, it's maybe not the best holiday example I'm using right now, but it's a holiday nonetheless. So to celebrate it, is going to be a street fight. And it's going to be a good one. It's not going to be a comedic effect. It's going to be brutal. It's going to be a show that stands out for you.
Yeah, they're not going to have candy on the floor for thumbtacks.
Exactly, because it's one of them. If it was a good match, you'd be going, oh, did you see that SmackDown the other one? And you tell them about the street fight, and they go, well, which SmackDown was it? And they're, oh, I don't know. If it's the Halloween episode, they just go, check out the Halloween episode. Because there was an awesome street fight without fucking pumpkins and people jumping out scared.
Because you're not going to show anybody. No one's going to give a shit. It's like, well, it involved pumpkins and stuff. It's like, okay.
Yeah. Sometimes if they can either make a story or use a story and the theme and put them together to create another chapter, which is a good chapter, I'm all for it. Like, for example, they could do something like if they had a Halloween party. Obviously, everyone's in costume. Someone gets attacked, but no one knows who it was because they were in costume. It creates a new storyline of the mystery of who attacked who.
Even the Buried Alive matches would be a better option.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it just seems, like you say, it's a needless attempt to pander to something we already know about.
Again, it's the same thing as what Vince and the writers always do. Same with when they're advertising everything and getting Michael Cole to say things a million times. It's the same situation. It's ramming it down your throat to make sure you're 100% aware where you are exactly and what's going on. Even though they're basically treating you like the audience is stupid and we don't know what's going on from day to day, and they need to constantly make us aware of what's happening.
One mention of like maybe what's going on would do. Like if it was the last Raw before Christmas, the commentators could open the show, say Merry Christmas, thank you for joining us on the holidays, but on Monday Night Raw it's business as usual.
Yeah.
And then on like the New Year's, it's like at the end of the show, they could be like, "Oh my God, it was chaos tonight. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great New Year."
Yeah.
That's all that needs to be.
Yep.
There doesn't have to be a show built around it because it takes away. Sometimes, if you're telling a good story for months and months and months, that one show that you fucked around with because of the holiday season can fuck up the story altogether. It can stop its momentum.
Yeah, 100%.
So, yeah, I think they need to stop, thinking, oh, these holidays are integral or whatever. They're relevant. Integral. Thank you. Don't know what happened there. They're integral to our storytelling and our shows because they're not.
No, they're
Just
not.
ignore them. Just carry on with your work. Yes, your turn.
Well, yeah, my second question, it actually kind of follows on quite nicely from that. It's quite a nice segue into the next question.
Yeah.
Do you think that the 5-on-5 Survivor Series gimmick should be scrapped so that we can continue with stories properly? Because I think the problem we're having at the moment is that I feel like they're doing this 5-on-5 Survivor Series brand warfare crap because they've done it for a while and they kind of have to. And it ruins, for me personally, it ruins stories that are being built up. So we have a whole pay-per-view based around something that's nothing to do with half of any of the stories. And we have to wait until the following pay-per-view to catch up on it. So do you think that the 5-on-5 should be scrapped?
That's a difficult one because I've always believed, on one side I've always thought, in certain things, you should do this because it's tradition kind of thing. But there's certain rules and laws, not just in wrestling, but around the world, where, like, just because it's tradition doesn't mean it can't be broken at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could go into that whole kind of, like the whole gun situation in America. They can go, well, fucking years ago, so-and-so, so-and-so, and all these presidents said, we have the right to bear arms. He goes, yes, he did say that years ago, but maybe it's time for a fucking change, because look at the amount of you that are dying in high school shootings and shit.
Yeah, bear arms was around a time when they had like single shoot pistols and shit like this, but now we've got fucking machine guns that can mow down 100 people in 5 seconds.
Exactly. So, yeah, it's that kind of thing. But if the brand split had been done correctly, I know it's like they've fucked it up and they're trying to correct it by doing a draft every fucking 10 minutes. But if they proper followed the rules of it, of like, that's it. These are on that show, they're on that show, everything is separate. We don't even, to the point, if you're going to reference Raw, or if SmackDown going to reference Raw, or vice versa, it's a one gimmick thing, and they kind of talk down about them throughout the year to make it seem like there's actual beef. Other than that, they don't even acknowledge each other, that they even exist until that period. So if they did want to continue the Raw versus SmackDown thing, it actually felt like it meant something at that point. It would feel like actual brand warfare.
Yeah.
The only other way it would work is if they either A, create a storyline that would work for the traditional 5-on-5 thing, but again, that would become predictable every year that they're going to do something like that. Or they go, right, it doesn't even have to be brand warfare. It's just, here's 5 guys or 5 women against these 5 guys or 5 women. The winning team gets something.
Yeah.
They get a favour or something. Like they did that a few years ago. I can't remember what year it was, but the winning team, because it was like, obviously you have 5 members on each team. I now remember, Eric Bischoff announced that he was going to take a month off from being the general manager of Monday Night Raw. So the rule was the winning team for the next 5 weeks, each one of them would manage Raw. So, to do what they see fit. Obviously, they probably gave themselves title shots every now and then, or most of the time, but it meant something.
Yeah.
So if that happened where, something better than you get a raise, because the fans won't be invested in that. They'll just be like, oh, well, who gives a shit?
That's the thing. The last time I was invested in a Survivor Series match was when it was Team Cena versus The Authority, and Sting came out and all that kind of stuff. That was the last time I gave a shit about it. Because the rest of it is just like, well, they act like it's the one night a year that Raw and SmackDown go against each other. It's like, well, that's bollocks, and you know it. And also, I think that one of the main things that hurts them a lot is that whenever they do a draft, they do it before Survivor Series. So you got all these people like going, "Oh, I bleed blue or I bleed red." I was like, "No, you didn't, because you were on the other brand 2 months ago or 2 weeks ago." That doesn't make any sense. So to kind of help that along, you do the draft after Survivor Series. Because then maybe you can do a thing where someone's eliminated someone, then they get drafted to the same brand as them, and then you've got a ready-made feud there.
The way it used to go, which I thought, again, it was a system that wasn't broken. I spoke in the past about Raw and SmackDown having their own pay-per-views, which, when they first happened, I thought, this is bollocks, but I quickly came on board with it, because it got to the point where it was like, okay, in this day and age, it'd be something like, Raw has Backlash, SmackDown has Extreme Rules, something, that kind of thing for a while. SummerSlam approaches. Both shows are on SummerSlam, but there's no inter-promotional matches between the two brands. They might reference each other in backstage segments and locker room stuff, but that should only be to potentially build either a WrestleMania match or the Survivor Series event. So, SummerSlam's both on SmackDown, that's that, but they still keep separate on the show. Survivor Series is Raw versus SmackDown. The Royal Rumble, again, is the only time where Raw and SmackDown stars mix. WrestleMania is the only show in the entire year where interpromotional matches can happen, like one-on-one situations. And then as soon as Mania is over, either a week, maybe 2 or 3 weeks after WrestleMania, you do the draft. And that's how the cycle goes throughout the entire, every time. Yeah. And at that point, that's the way, in my opinion, you actually make the brands mean something. So, if it's brand warfare done properly, I'm okay with Survivor Series staying. And I'm also okay with it if the Survivor Series match has a decent enough storyline where something is on the line.
Right.
So other than that, I would agree with you. At the minute, it's becoming redundant of like, why are we even doing it?
Yeah, exactly. So as it's in its current form, get rid. If it changes and makes it better, then keep it.
Yeah, I don't want to get rid of Survivor Series, because I don't know why, but even though I know it's the weakest of the big four, I've always had a bit of a sweet spot for it. But again, that might be the tradition in me coming out.
Maybe.
But they need to change it. I mean, obviously, this year's Survivor Series is the second, third, fourth, fifth final farewell.
Well, is it a farewell?
Even me and my brother were talking about it, is like, I just think it's a build for WrestleMania. I really do.
Right.
So, but if it is the final farewell, I mean, there's a possibility, I very much doubt this is going to happen. There's a huge possibility, as in respect to the Undertaker's retirement, they retire Survivor Series as well.
Oh,
he debuted at Survivor Series.
Yeah, maybe.
He retires at Survivor Series retires. Because they kind of did something similar. I mean, it's a bit more darker reasons, but after Owen Hart died at the Over the Edge pay-per-view, that was like, right, we're never doing Over the Edge pay-per-view again.
Yeah.
In respect for Owen, because the stigma would always be attached to that.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, mate, Survivor Series needs work.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Me.
Yes.
Obviously, lockdown has had a huge effect on all of wrestling shows, WWE, AEW, all that stuff. But there seems to be a slight light at the end of the tunnel of things might be getting back to normal early next year, blah, blah, blah. But in the long run, do you think the lockdown has helped WWE and AEW, or hindered it a bit for when it returns?
I don't know. I mean, I would say it's probably hindered it, basically because they're stuck in a situation that neither of them want to be in, but they've just got to do it because, those are the rules and that's the way to keep people as safe as possible. Not that everybody's doing it correctly. But yeah, I think it kind of hinders it a bit because it has turned a lot of fans off. There's even been, you and me have explained a few times that there's been plenty of pay-per-views they're not interested in, or there's like Raw and SmackDown were basically just catching results and a couple of clips. It's a struggle, it really is, to try to get yourself invested, and it's it definitely has hindered it. It's going to take a lot of time, I think, to bring the fans, the lapsed fans back. For people like us, the hardcore that will constantly watch anyway, when the fans are finally back in the arena, we're going to be really happy and we're going to go nuts because it's just finally we're back to normality. But for the lapsed fans that have just gone, I can't be arsed, it's going to take a long time to drag them back in and build them back up again to get the numbers where they want them to be. I'm not saying it won't be done, and I think within a year or two, I think it'll just be a bad memory. But initially, the first couple of months, depending on where it falls, it's going to take a bit of time to kind of get things back to normal. It really depends on what happens in America. With us, there's a lot of strength at the moment with this vaccine that we could be back to normal by spring. With USA, obviously, I don't know what the deal is there, whether it be sooner or later than that. If it falls around WrestleMania season where everything's back to normal, then that might be good for WWE because that'll be their big resurgence and maybe it won't affect them as much. But if it's just randomly in the middle of randomly in the middle of the year with just a standard pay-per-view or whatever, or it's just a random Raw or SmackDown, it's going to take a bit of time to build things up towards the next big pay-per-view. So, yeah, I think it has hindered it for both of them, really. But, at least with AEW, I suppose they I think they had a profit in their first year, which is good. But yeah, so overall, I think it has hindered them, but I think they'll bounce back eventually.
It's definitely hindered both of them, as in the present situation, or from the get-go. Obviously, losing your fans is the one thing you don't want to happen in any wrestling show. But I meant it more like in the sense of, when the announcement comes, like, right, next week on Raw or next week on AEW Dynamite, fans are back, full capacity, because, vaccines happened or it's fucked off, whatever, here we go. Do you think there'll be a surge in viewerships and love of wrestling again because of the comfort of, like, wow, look at this live crowd and atmosphere and we're back? Or, like you say, it was like, you know what, it wasn't that good without the fans. I've looked straight through past having no fans, and I'm still not a fan of what they're doing story-wise or character-wise. I didn't really miss it. I'm done with it. Even if it is back, I'm not bothered.
I think there will be there'll be a surge, but I don't think it will be as big as they think it's going to be. Especially as WWE. I think AEW a little, Khan is a little bit more realistic. But with WWE, Vince is so up on his pedestal and he's so blindsided by his own fucking ego that he thinks that the second he announces crowds that everybody's going to come storming back and it's going to be, the viewership's going to go through the roof. I don't think it will. There will be a surge, obviously. There will be a thing where there's more fans there's more viewership, there is more watchability, there is more money coming in. Of course there will. But it's not going to be the amount that he thinks it will be or should be. But he'll still play it off like it is, because you know what he's like. He likes to twist and bend the truth for his own narrative. But it won't be as big of a surge as he thinks.
No, the first week will be. That's definite. If they're lucky, the surge will continue for maybe a month. And I'm not knocking this because I'll watch it and it's a good idea. I guarantee there'll be a network documentary on the day of the fans' return and the whole show and all that stuff. So what I would be interested to see, because in my head I straight away thought that first Raw where live crowds are allowed back in is going to sell out. And then I sat there a minute, I thought, or will it? Or will it just go back into the whole, like, not only, like I say, some fans are probably lost and never coming back now because of recent events, but will people just go, will it just be back to the normal kind of thing of like, yeah, here's some fans, here's some seats that have been blacked out, we're back to the norm? Because I suppose that's what Vince is hoping for, like, silver lining of this is wrestling will be extremely more popular again because they would have missed it and it will be sold out for months on end again. I don't think so. WrestleMania will be, but WrestleMania usually always is.
Yeah.
So
you've got to give them a reason, and at the end of the day, their storytelling is poor. There's only one, maybe two storylines that are going on at the moment. Obviously, the whole Reigns thing is the strongest one they've got at the moment. maybe one other, that is actually worth watching. Everything else is just kind of lukewarm and just kind of there. Or it's poor and it's shit and it's crap, or there's just people not being utilised correctly. We could go on and on and on forever. You've got to give them a reason to tune back in. You've got to give some real good matchups, some good storylines, and give a reason for people to go, holy shit, this sounds like it's going to be a good one.
Yeah, what I've noticed is, and this is the right thing to do for any wrestling promotion, is to rely on the fans. But I noticed WWE have done it a lot more. And as a fan, I notice things sort of like a move will happen or a certain moment in a match or even a promo segment. And I'll think that would have been more effective if the crowd were there to react, or it'd be more organic, or, I think the fans would be booing this even though they're claiming it should be a cheering moment or a face moment or vice versa. Where with AEW, just watching Full Gear the other week, it was almost like I didn't even notice the fans weren't there anymore because I was that invested in the wrestling show they were giving me. With the WWE, to some extent, I do get invested. I was very invested in Hell in a Cell, but it was still very apparent it was in an empty arena with no one there. But yeah, AEW had just been flying on all cylinders with their storytelling and how they wrestle, and it's just fantastic. So, if anything, I think WWE, like I say, will have to surge, but they'll go back to suffering soon after. I think in the long run, AEW will profit from this big time.
I hope so. I hope so. I want them to be an actual contender.
They're getting there. NXT have won the ratings war every now and then, but AEW dominate them.
Yeah.
And that's saying something, considering NXT is the best thing in WWE.
And the fact that AEW have only been here for a year, they've been doing their own thing and not really paying too much attention to WWE and not overshooting themselves like WWE have done in the past. But yeah, I think they've got a lot of potential to be that good. I really do.
I don't think AEW's intention is to destroy WWE or anything of that.
It's just to give healthy competition. But the problem is WWE don't see it that way. They see it to a threat to their livelihood.
Yeah, if something happened where either WWE insulted AEW or Tony Khan just thought, you know what, with the numbers I've got and with how shit WWE just are in their product or the way they treat their wrestlers, I would seriously think about, let's move Dynamite to Monday night. Because if they did, Vince won't admit it, but they'd be shaking in their fucking boots.
I think that's definitely something that's on the cards. I think it's a case of once they're about 2 or 3 years down the line and they've built themselves up enough and they're gone from small arenas to the big arenas and they're really getting that staple in wrestling, I think they will move it to a Monday night. Because then they've got plenty to play with, and they can go, well, look at what we've got. They don't have to mention WWE; they can just do it and see what happens.
Yeah. See, 2 or 3 years down the line, touch wood, could be potentially around the time Vince is out, whether it's death or whatever, and Triple H takes the reins. If AEW did that, if they were like, fuck it, let's go to Monday nights, whether it's Vince or Triple H in charge, they would know, right, we've got to step up our game here. So it will be so much better for the fans because Dynamite will be awesome. Raw will step up their game to hopefully be awesome. And we'd get Monday Night War Part 2.
Yeah, definitely.
And it will be fantastic.
100%.
Yeah, it's been a struggle, but the companies will hopefully rise again.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. Your last one.
Yeah, so my last one, we spoke earlier about Undertaker being at Survivor Series and how it's his farewell, in quotations, thing, but we're not 100% convinced. My final question is, do you think that The Undertaker should do one final farewell match at WrestleMania against The Fiend?
The fan in me is saying yes, 100% yes. Because I did enjoy the Boneyard match at Mania 36 with AJ, but it's something in my head just goes, he needs to go out in the ring in front of a live audience, which is why even with this farewell thing, I was like, are we really going to do a farewell thing with no fans there? You know, I know it seems to be a lot more about him saying goodbye to his peers and them saying goodbye to him. Because I read recently, there's a wrestler called Savio Vega who hasn't been in WWE since 1999, but him and Taker were proper close back in the day. So Savio's going to be at Survivor Series after 21 years to say bye to Taker, which again adds more to the whole. Maybe this is the final farewell after all the other ones Savio didn't turn up to. Maybe this is the actual one. But so yeah, as a fan, definitely want to see it. But as a fan of Mark Calloway, it's obviously he knows his body better than anybody else. But it's like, can he still do this?
Yeah, I mean, like I say, with the Boneyard match, he's able to cover up a lot of stuff. There's a bit more smoke and mirrors, so he can get away with a bit more. But in the ring, you can't. So yeah, I suppose it depends on that. But yeah, I'm agreeing with you. Like the fan in me, the little boy in me, is going, "Please, please do this."
Yeah, what's kind of silver lining of this as well is he didn't wrestle at Mania 35. He kind of didn't wrestle at Mania 36 because of what the match was and the pandemic and stuff. So he's had 2.5 years, approaching 3, of resting. But also with what we've seen in the Last Ride documentary, he's still been getting in the ring. He's been having surgery and all that stuff. Now, I don't know if he's still been doing that. But to have that amount of time of hopefully training up, and as well as resting, but training up to avoid the ring rust because of in case of any potential return, he might be on his game for a decent last match, but at the same time, the fact that you can tell he's genuinely looking at the retirement now, he might already be in the mindset of, I'm done.
Yeah, because with everything he went on about, he said about like, I want to make sure that when I come away from my last match, I go, that was a good one. And he thought that with a Boneyard match. So it's like, if he goes for another one and it doesn't work out the way he wants it to, he's going to be annoyed and he's going to want to go again. Yeah,
the problem is, again, with the mindset, if you've gone, I'm done, and then, after the conversation with Vince, he goes, all right, one more. It's not just about the physicality in the ring. You got to be mentally there as well. If he's mentally during the match thinking, I shouldn't be doing this, accidents will happen. And I don't want to see that.
No.
So he really needs to feel it in his heart and soul of like, the same opinion I've got, like, I should finish in the ring, I should finish in front of a live audience, and then that is it. That is, no pun intended, the final nail in the coffin. Even if he had to sign a contract with Vince of going, WrestleMania 37, me versus The Fiend, this is the last match.
Career on the line.
Wrestled again, it's a breach of contract.
Yeah.
Is it what Motley Crue did?
Yeah.
Yeah. The whole, even though it looks like Motley Crue could probably get a try.
I know, right? I heard about that. I was just like, what? I was like, but you said you signed a contract.
Yeah. So, yeah, as long as it was the actual final farewell and he felt he was physically and mentally good enough to do it, I'm fine with it. But also what helps is that he's been in the ring a couple of times with Bray Wyatt before. So he'll know what to do with Bray. Bray will know how to take care of The Undertaker.
Yeah.
Bray's almost become a ring general himself. And The Fiend needs to go over. 100%.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God, yeah. That's a definite.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, God, could you imagine if he don't? I mean, I'm a fan of Undertaker, but God.
That makes no sense, does it?
Yeah. So, yeah. As a fan of The Undertaker character, I never want that character to go. So, yes. But as a fan of the man behind the character, I'm a little bit
hesitant
about it. So, Yeah, my final one?
Yes, your final question and the last one of the podcast this time.
Yeah. I've been sitting on this question a long time because originally I wanted to watch. They got that series called The Dark Side of the Ring.
Sorry,
yeah, I know.
Who thought of that name?
Yeah.
What are you watching tonight? Dark Side of the Ring. Oh, is it it's a hardcore night? Is it?
One can't call it the Dark Side of Wrestling.
I know that's just not easy. Just Dark Side of the Ring. Fuck's sake.
But yeah, I wanted to watch an episode from season 2, which was going to be about Owen Hart's death, and I unfortunately haven't got round to it. So I was going to ask this question after that, but fuck it, I'm asking it now. There's a very select few of people we know will never get in the Hall of Fame. They're the likes of like Owen Hart, Chris Benoit. Well, maybe Owen Hart down the line, but it's looking unlikely. Chris Benoit, and I know Chyna's in with D-Generation X technically, but I don't think she's ever going to go in by herself. Not anytime soon, anyway. So my question is, who do you think will go into the Hall of Fame that doesn't deserve to, and who do you think won't go into the Hall of Fame that deserves to?
Oh, that's really hard. Someone that is it. Well, it's someone that's in the Hall of Fame. Yeah, he is in the Hall of Fame. I'm pretty sure he is. But I don't think he deserves to, purely because I just think he's a prick, and I don't like him, and I've never liked him, and I never will like him.
JBL.
Correct. It's JBL. It's just like, I get he's important with APA. I get that. I understand. It's just, he's a prick, and he doesn't deserve to be notified of as a legend, because to me, he's not.
Well, technically, he's not in the Hall of Fame yet, because
is he not?
He was meant to be in the WrestleMania 36 class.
That was it.
Yeah.
So he's not in yet, but I think that obviously means he will be in next year then, because they're just going to repeat it. So I just don't agree with him being in whatsoever. The person that won't go in and should, that's hard, because there's so many people going into the Hall of Fame now that the Hall of Fame is slowly becoming redundant, because it's just like everybody's going in. I mean, Ric Flair's gone in twice, you know what I mean? I really don't know. I mean, I would say that Owen Hart obviously deserves to be in there, but it won't happen because of his wife. So fingers crossed it'll happen when she's gone, but that's quite a few years away. I mean, what about Bret Hart? Is he in there?
Bret's in there.
Is he Bret in? I couldn't remember whether he was or he wasn't, to be honest. I generally don't know. It's such a hard one to think, because I think that eventually all the big players and everybody that deserves to be in there will go in there. Undertaker will go in there. You know what I mean? It's just things like that. It's like you never have to worry about it because it will happen. Even Vince McMahon deserves to be in there. I hate the guy, but of course he deserves to be in there. I get that. But for people that aren't going to go in, I generally don't know. I'm stumped to thinking who will not go in that does deserve it.
With the Owen Hart thing, what's interesting, why I wanted to watch the episode of Dark Side of the Ring first was a lot of people, Owen's widow is on it. And a lot of people said after what she said and what she revealed, not only was it kind of like, oh God, okay, maybe not, but a lot of people said actually she made a few very good points for why maybe Owen shouldn't be in there. So again, I haven't watched it yet, but that's something that we might discuss at a later point. I think someone that doesn't deserve to, in my head, but will, is once again from the Mania 36 class, which is the Bella Twins.
Ah, yes! Yes! They don't deserve to go in. They can't fucking wrestle. They're tits and ass. Yeah, 100%. Totally agree with that.
I know the impact they made through Total Divas.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I hate Total Divas, but I know that the show is pretty big. It got big enough for them to have their own spin-off. But they were never good wrestlers. They were just booked to look like good wrestlers, i.e. they were booked to have the championships when they didn't deserve them.
Yep.
And they're just, I cannot think of not only a match, but I can't think of anyone that can point out a good Bellas match.
The only one I can think of is when Brie went against Steph.
Yes.
That's it.
Steph Morgan, who's a non-wrestler.
I know, but that's the only one I can think of. The rest of it is just like, I don't give a shit because they're rubbish.
Yeah, it just... I mean, even though I know she's actually a proper sweetheart in real life, there's another part of me is thinking, will Vicky Guerrero go into the Hall of Fame, and does she really deserve it?
As long as she's at AEW, she ain't going in.
Yeah, again, and one that again I think deserves to be.
I just thought of someone that won't go in, but does deserve to be, and that's Chris Jericho.
Oh, I see. I thought Jericho, but also thought CM Punk.
Well, yeah, CM Punk does deserve to go in, but yeah, I don't think he will. But Jericho, definitely. But as long as he's at AEW, which I don't think he'll ever go back to WWE again, as long as AEW is doing as well as it is, I don't think he'll go in.
I think that both of them, Jericho, until Jericho retires, the talk of him being in the Hall of Fame will never happen. I'm kind of with CM Punk. Both Punk and Jericho, actually, if WWE got in touch with them and said, do you want to be in the Hall of Fame? It's a very 50-50 answer from both of them, because I think Jericho might be in that sense of, no, I retired under the AEW banner for a reason. I'm not a WWE superstar anymore. I'm done. I don't need the Hall of Fame. Not in a dick way, but just that's the way he is. But on the other side, you might think, well, the fans want to celebrate my career. My peers do as well.
Yeah.
It'd be an awesome thing to happen to anybody.
There's more chance of Jericho accepting that offer than Punk.
Yeah, because Punk is the type to be like, he's never needed anyone.
Yeah, he's just like, I just don't need it. It's the same thing with the whole wrestling under WWE. He's like, I just don't need it. It just it's to make them like, he thinks that they're going, oh, he needs us, and he's just constantly proving to them, I don't need you. I don't need you to do this or that or anything for me.
On the other side, we know he's got an ego that likes to be stroked.
Yeah, but even then, I think I don't know his standpoint on the Hall of Fame. But in all honesty, I think he probably thinks a very similar thing to the Hall of Fame as what I'm starting to think, is that it's becoming less and less important when more and more people are going in. And like I said, loads of people that are going in just because, you know what I mean? Because they've got to fill out a Hall of Fame class every single year, rather than it being 2, maybe 3 people a year that are definitely deserving of going in. It's just like, oh, we've got 8 spots to fill every single year, so we've got to put 8 people in every single year. Sometimes I look at it and go, why are they going in? You know, I mean, they wrestled for 3 months and then they never wrestled again, and now they're just going in. And it just, I think it's just becoming less important. So obviously, the less prestigious that it is, the less he's going to give a shit.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those situations where, it doesn't help that his relationship with Triple H was strained, as well as his relationship with Vince. But it'd be one of those situations. Everyone was shocked when he agreed to WWE backstage. Now, I know that was technically a Fox program, but it's still under the WWE banner. It was a huge shock for everybody to even see Punk doing that kind of stuff. So it would have to be Triple H has got a record that, with the likes of Bruno Sammartino and the Ultimate Warrior, he was the one who had to pick up the phone, have a conversation with them to build bridges, make men fences, and almost talk them into the Hall of Fame of like, let's just let bygones be bygones, water under the bridge, let's just celebrate your career. I think Triple H is man enough to ring Punk and try and sort it all out. And I'm not saying Vince isn't either, but there's been a lot more tension between Triple H and Punk.
Yeah.
If to go, cards on the table, what happened between us is a long time ago. The fans would love to see in the Hall of Fame. I think you'd love to be in the Hall of Fame yourself. Punk might say yes if he went okay. Number one, I don't want to be pressured into another match if I don't want to do it. And number two, I want to say what I want to say without being, censored, so to speak.
which would be a big deal for. I honestly think that one of his bugaboos as well would be probably saying that Paul Heyman's inducted me. End of story.
Oh God, yeah. It either be Paul or AJ.
Yeah, but again, so I suppose AJ. Yeah, but I mean, I think Paul makes more sense.
Paul does make more sense, definitely. But the thing is, again, depending on where Punk is with his life at the time, if this phone call ever happens, I think Punk would want an apology from Triple H as well.
Yeah, because that's the thing. Yeah, that's the thing. And that, I mean, yeah, fair enough. That's probably a bit of a dick thing. It's like when it's been so long, it's just like, oh, you still want an apology. But then on the flip side, it's kind of like, well, he does kind of deserve a bit of an apology because Triple H should have put him over in certain circumstances, and he definitely kind of watered down his attempts to get where he wanted to be. So he does, yeah, it is a very weird thing. But again, like I say, it depends on when the phone call happens.
Yeah, it's a very interesting dynamic of if Punk is the guy who might be, I don't want to live in regret type of guy. Because if he is, he might get to a point in his life where he's like, right, I'm approaching that age where even if I wanted to wrestle, I might not be able to do it anymore.
Yeah.
So he might get to the point like, if I'm going to wrestle again, the time's got to be now. But saying that, he might pick up the phone and ring AEW instead.
Yes, the thing, I think he could do more of what he wants to do at AEW than he can in WWE.
Yeah, I think he's said he's always wanted to work with the Young Bucks.
Yeah.
And could you just imagine CM Punk versus Kenny Omega?
That's the thing I was thinking. Him versus Omega. Even him versus Moxley. I know he's obviously gone against Ambrose in the past, but just a new Moxley, because Moxley's completely different of a character to what Ambrose was. Just seeing that again would be incredible. I mean, I know he's done Jericho as well, but even seeing him do Jericho again, and just because of how in a different place they are from where they were last time, it'd just be incredible.
Well, yeah, but there'd be so many, even the characters he hasn't quite, well, one that would be very interesting is Colt Cabana.
Yeah.
Because obviously Colt's in AEW. There's the likes of like Darby Allin there and stuff. Have you checked out a guy called Eddie Kingston on AEW?
No, not yet.
But he was the one who went against Moxley at Full Gear.
Yeah.
He looked like he should be a wrestler. But, just check out the promo between the two of them before the show.
Okay.
I think Kingston can outschool Punk on the mic.
Wow, that's bold. That is a bold claim.
You watch his promo. Just the point that if it was Kingston versus Punk, the build-up alone would be absolutely incredible.
Right, I'm going to check that out then.
Yeah. But, yeah, so your Bellas and JBL definitely don't deserve to go in.
Nope.
But, yeah, Punk and Jericho should go in. Whether they will, who knows?
We'll have to see, won't we?
Yeah. So that's it.
Yeah, that's it. That's another podcast done. More questions all finished up. We got Survivor Series in 2 weeks, I think.
I think 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's not this Sunday, but next Sunday. So we might get another one of these squeezed in before. If not, you'll see us in 2 weeks for Survivor Series review. Yeah, there's not really much else to report other than I did work today, and now I'm going to have some tea, and now I'm going to sit in front of the TV, and then I'm going to fall asleep.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just wondering if at the end of the Survivor Series podcast, we'll be actually saying, yeah, take us aside, or guess what?
Guess what? We were right. You heard it here first. He's going against the Fiend.
The thing is, you probably didn't hear it first. Here first. The whole world is kind of going, yeah, you know what? Yeah, we're not buying this. So, but we'll see. We'll see.
So if we don't see you next week, we'll see you the week after for Survivor Series.
Yeah. Anyway,
bye.